They said the mind is a battlefield, but they were wrong. A battlefield is temporary, a clash of moments, a surge of force and fury. Your mind is not a battlefield, it is the throne room, the command center of destiny. And you, whether you've realized it or not, are the commander. You're not here to survive the noise, you're here to silence it. You're not here to cope with chaos, you're here to give it order. You're not here to bow to fate, you are here to forge it. The difference between a life of quiet despair and one of roaring greatness comes down to one truth. He who masters his mind masters the world. You see, every empire that was ever built, from Caesar's Rome to Edison's laboratory, was first erected in the unseen chambers of the human will. No stone laid, no machine sparked, no word spoken. Until the mind envisioned it first, until belief unlocked it, until discipline marched it forward. Control your mind and you take the reins of the universe itself, because the truth no one wants to hear is this: life doesn't happen to you, it happens through you. Your thoughts are not passengers. They are architects. Every thought you repeat, every image you hold, every belief you allow to root these are the blueprints of your reality. But the problem is, most people, they've handed the keys of their mind to fear, to doubt, to mediocrity. They wake up every morning with the ghosts of their excuses whispering in their ears, convincing them they're not ready, not worthy, not built for the extraordinary. And so they live small, not because they're meant to, but because they allowed it. Let me tell you something they don't teach in school. Discipline is the gateway drug of freedom. The mind, wild and untrained, is your greatest enemy. But the mind, sharpened like a blade, carved by the chisel of daily commitment, that mind can rewrite fate. Think about the titans, the real ones. Carnegie didn't rise from a penniless immigrant boy to the steel king of the world by chance. No, he cultivated belief like a farmer cultivates the soil, turning it daily, removing the weeds, watering it with fierce intention. Lincoln didn't weather humiliation, defeat, and personal tragedy because life was kind. He endured because he learned how to rule his inner world when the outer world tried to break him. Giants aren't born with better minds. They build them with silence, with repetition, with vision so vivid it leaves no room for doubt. You want to command your destiny? It begins with one rule. Your mind serves you or enslaves you. There is no neutral. There is no pause button. Every thought you entertain is either sculpting your greatness or feeding your destruction. So stop blaming the world. Stop blaming the economy, your childhood, your boss, your parents, your past. Those are chapters, not your conclusion. The pen is still in your hand, and the ink it bleeds from your decisions. Control your mind, or be controlled by everything that doesn't serve you. And how do you begin? You begin with belief. Not belief in the stars, not blind hope, but belief rooted in decision, the decision to rise. You must believe, not because someone told you you're special, but because you choose to become the kind of person who earns the right to say, I made it, I built this, I became this. Belief is not wishing. Belief is a contract with the future, and every disciplined action is a signature. That's what Hill meant when he said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But people forget the cost of that achievement. It's paid daily, in sweat, in sacrifice, in solitude, in saying no when every cell in your body wants to say yes to comfort. You don't become powerful because you got lucky. You become powerful because you learned to show up when no one was clapping, because you stopped negotiating with weakness, because you became the kind of person who does what needs to be done, especially when it's hard. Look around you. The ones who rise, the inventors, the champions, the visionaries, they're not superhuman. But they have one thing in common. They do not allow their feelings to dictate their actions. They train their minds like warriors. They feed their focus like oxygen. They starve distractions like poison. Because they know you are what you repeat. Your habits are not chores. They are rituals of destiny. Waking up early? That's not just productivity, that's a declaration. Working out when you're tired? That's not just health, that's identity. saying no to what doesn't align. That's not just discipline, that's liberation. You don't rise by accident, you rise by design. You rise when your purpose is bigger than your excuses, when your vision is so clear it drowns out the noise, when your why is screaming louder than your weakness. And that's the next thing, vision. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you saw your future so clearly it gave you chills? Not a fantasy, not a Pinterest board, but a calling. A vision so real you can smell it, hear it, bleed for it. Disney had that. When he stood in an empty orange grove and told his team, "This will be the happiest place on earth," they thought he was insane. But that's what vision does. It demands madness and rewards it with miracles. Because when you see it, when you truly see it, the world bends to meet you. And if it doesn't, you bend yourself. That's what discipline is. Discipline is loving your future enough to sacrifice your comfort today. Discipline is worship, not of a God, but of the God within you. You were not born to repeat your days. You were born to evolve. You were born to bend reality with your intent. But here's the truth. Most will never accept. Your potential is not promised. It's only possible. And possibility means nothing without obedience to the grind. So you decide. Right now. Not tomorrow. Not when it feels good. Now. Who commands your mind? Because if it's not you, then it's fear, or weakness, or the past, or somebody who never paid your bills, never felt your fire, never held your dreams. You command your destiny when you stop being a guest in your own mind. You were never meant to live on your knees. Stand up, grab the wheel, the throne is waiting. You see, life doesn't reward the lukewarm. It doesn't crown the comfortable. The world bows only to those who show up like it owes them nothing and yet give it everything. And here's what they'll never tell you. In the comfort of classroom walls or office halls, discipline is lonely. At first, it's thankless. It's quiet, no lights, no applause, just you. You and the choice. The choice to rise when your bed is warm, and the dream still feels far away. The choice to say, "not yet," to the fleeting joy of now, so you can say, "I did it," when the summit is yours. The choice to stare down your weaknesses and whisper, "You don't own me anymore." Discipline, real discipline, is when no one knows what you're doing, but you do it anyway. Because you've tasted what it feels like to be average, and you've decided never again. Ford knew that feeling. Henry Ford wasn't just building engines. He was building a belief that a common man, with uncommon focus, could reshape the world's future. People laughed at him. Critics scoffed. Experts declared his ideas impossible, and yet he moved. Every single day he moved. Because he wasn't answering to them, he was answering to the fire inside him. Let me say this clear. Vision without discipline is a hallucination. Dreams without action are delusions wearing fancy clothes. You want to stand where giants stand? Then walk where they walked. Through the mud, through the rain, through the endless repetition of greatness forged when nobody's watching. The problem with this generation isn't a lack of dreams, it's a lack of fire. Everyone wants the crown. Nobody wants the scars. Everyone wants to be heard. Few want to sit in silence long enough to listen to what their soul is really asking of them. Because in that silence, you will hear it the truth. The echo that says, "You are not finished. You are not broken. You are not too late. But you must act. Not once. Not when it's convenient. But until the universe has no choice but to move." And that movement begins with purpose. Purpose is the compass in the fog. It's not motivation. Motivation fades. Purpose is what wakes you up at 5 a.m. when your body says no and your dream says, "We're not done yet." Purpose gives weight to the sacrifice. Purpose gives power to the pain. Because now the grind isn't just for money or fame or a number on a scale, it's for something sacred. You want to live a life that matters? Anchor yourself in a purpose that outlives your fears. The greatest men in history didn't live for applause. They lived for a mission, a cause, a legacy, something so large that their ego had to shrink just to carry it. You don't find your purpose scrolling through noise. You don't find it chasing trends. You find it when you get still enough, honest enough, and brutal enough to admit, I was meant for more. And I've played small long enough. When you find that purpose, it burns, it haunts, it demands, it says, I don't care what your past looks like, I only care what you're willing to become. And you are not your story. You are not your scars. You are the author now. You are the sculptor. And with every action, every moment of discipline, you chisel the masterpiece that is your life. But don't mistake this. Discipline is not perfection. Discipline is getting back up when you fall. Discipline is showing up even when doubt whispers louder than belief. Discipline is what separates those who try from those who become. So you choose. Choose to become the kind of person who doesn't need a crowd to be great. Choose the discomfort now so you can live the freedom later. Choose to silence the voices that say you can't, not with anger, but with evidence. Evidence built through sweat, through silence, through showing up again and again and again until the world has no choice but to call you relentless. And when failure comes, and it will, you welcome it. Because you know that failure isn't the end of the road. It's the furnace. It's the gym of the soul. It forges resilience. It introduces you to the version of yourself that only emerges under pressure. Do you think Edison loved failing 10,000 times? Number. But he understood this. Results are rented, and rent is due every day. He failed publicly. He failed repeatedly. But he never gave failure the power to define him, because he understood what few ever learn, that the only way to lose is to stop. And the only way to stop is to believe the lie that your pain is greater than your purpose. It isn't. Your destiny is waiting, but it will not come down to meet you. You must rise. You must build the mental muscles to say yes to the uncomfortable, to say no to the easy, to run when others walk, and walk when others crawl. That's the difference. That's the edge. And if you're thinking right now that you're not special, good. Because you don't have to be special to start. You just have to start to become something special. Because discipline isn't for the chosen. It's for the committed, the consistent, the courageous, the ones who get knocked down, scraped up, and still say, again, one more, let's go. Not tomorrow, now. Now is the only time that has ever mattered. And now is yours. Now is the moment where your old self dies, not in mourning, but in gratitude, because it brought you here. It gave you the lessons, the wounds, the mirrors, but it is not your future. You bury the version of you that waited for the right time, the right mood, the perfect plan. That version only knew hesitation. This new one knows command. Command not over others, not over outcomes, but over yourself. And that is the highest power a human can achieve. Not wealth, not fame, self-command. You want to be rich? Then become rich in discipline, rich in integrity, rich in clarity. Because if your mind is weak, the world will take everything from you. But if your mind is strong, you can lose it all and still rise. Again and again. That's what they don't teach you. That real security isn't in the bank, it's in your backbone. Real wealth, it's waking up with a mission and sleeping with peace. But that kind of life, the life of the few, requires clarity sharper than a blade. Clarity is the antidote to confusion. And confusion is the breeding ground of excuses. Most people aren't lazy, they're lost. Wandering through a fog of comparison, distraction, and cheap validation, hoping one day to figure it all out. But clarity doesn't arrive like a package on your doorstep. It's forged through reflection, rejection, and relentless commitment to truth. Ask yourself, what do I truly want, not what they told me to want? What would I chase if failure didn't frighten me? What would I build if I believed I could not be broken? Because when you know what you want, your life becomes a straight line. And every no, every setback, every distraction, it either aligns or gets removed. Lincoln knew that clarity. When others tried to convince him to compromise, to bend, to play it safe, he stayed the course. Not because it was easy, but because he had burned the boats. He knew purpose without clarity is noise, and he refused to be noise. So must you. Your vision must become non-negotiable, not because the world is ready for it, but because you are. Because clarity breeds action, and action bold, disciplined action is the lifeblood of destiny. You cannot think your way into greatness. You must act. Act when you're tired, act when you're afraid, act when your hands shake and your voice cracks, because the universe rewards motion. It respects effort. It multiplies momentum. Success is not a straight line, it's a spiral staircase. And every step you climb requires effort without applause, discipline without drama, courage without confirmation. And most of all, it requires you to trust the process even when the progress is invisible. That's the difference between those who dabble and those who dominate. The dabblers wait to feel ready. They wait for certainty. The dominators, they move. And in moving, they create the very certainty others are still searching for. You want to command your destiny? Then command your mornings. The moment your eyes open, the war begins. That first hour of your day determines the quality of your thoughts, the tone of your spirit, the direction of your energy. Do not let it be hijacked. Do not hand your power to the screen, the noise, the world outside. Your morning is your fortress, and within that fortress you set your intention. You align your mind. You remind yourself, today I do not drift. Today I drive. Because drifting is death, not of the body, of the soul. People die at 25 and aren't buried until 75 because they drifted. They abandoned the wheel of their own lives. They let routine replace reason. They let comfort replace curiosity. And one day, they wake up with a body that is aged and a spirit that never lived. That will not be you. You are not here to exist. You are here to expand, to stretch every cell of your potential until it screams, to walk toward the storm while others run from the rain, to be disciplined enough to deny yourself small pleasures in exchange for permanent power. Because the world is full of people addicted to ease and empty of those addicted to excellence. And you, if you've come this far, you know which side you're on. So no more waiting, no more blaming, no more shrinking to make others comfortable. You do not apologize for your ambition. You do not explain your fire. You are not here to be understood. You are here to be unforgettable. Let the world misjudge you. Let them doubt you. Let them whisper. You stay quiet. Stay building. Stay walking that lonely road of discipline that few choose and even fewer finish. And one day they will ask how you did it. And you will smile, because they'll never understand how many battles you won before breakfast. Because the real battles aren't fought on stages, they're fought in silence, behind closed doors, in the darkness before dawn, when no one is watching and everything inside you says, just 5 more minutes, just one more excuse. That's where destinies are forged, in the unseen hours, in the spaces no one claps for. When Muhammad Ali was asked how many sit-ups he did, he said, I don't count my sit-ups. I only start counting when it starts hurting, because they're the only ones that count. That's the standard. The discipline of giants is not about talent. It's about thresholds. It's about how much discomfort you're willing to carry, how much pain you're willing to feel without flinching, how far you're willing to push while others break. Because here's the brutal truth. The difference between greatness and mediocrity is how you treat the pain. Most people run from it, hide from it, numb it with food, with scrolling, with gossip, with anything that keeps them from facing the heat of their own potential. But the elite, they walk toward it. They don't see pain as punishment. They see it as purification, the fire that forges the steel, the pressure that builds the diamond. You will never become who you were meant to be without walking through the fire of who you were. That's the process. And the process is sacred. It doesn't care about your opinions. It doesn't bend for your preferences. It doesn't apologize for being hard. Because it's not here to pamper you, it's here to prepare you. So when it gets hard good, that means the old you is dying. When it hurts good, that means the weak parts are being burned away. When you want to quit perfect, That means you're finally standing at the edge of your limits, and what comes next is where transformation begins. Do you think Kobe Bryant became a legend because of talent alone? Number? He outpracticed the entire league. He showed up before the sun. He stayed after the lights were off. Because he wasn't just playing a game, he was building an identity. One built on discipline, obsession, and the relentless pursuit of more. He once said, "Rest at the end, not in the middle." Let that sink in. Because most people are so desperate for praise, they rest in the middle. They take breaks when they're still bleeding. They slow down because they haven't seen the reward yet. But greatness doesn't stop when it's tired. It stops when it's done. So get done. Finish the set. Finish the project. Finish the promise you made to yourself. Because no one is coming to save you. No one is going to do it for you. And no one is qualified to judge your fire except the one who lit it. You don't owe the world anything except the example of what's possible when a human being decides to live fully lit. But don't just burn bright. Burn steady. Because flames that burn wild flicker out fast. But a fire built on discipline, that fire lasts. That fire sustains. That fire warms the coldest nights of your life and lights the path for others. You were born to be that fire. But you cannot become it until you stop worshiping ease. Until you stop confusing pleasure for peace. Until you stop pretending that your potential isn't demanding more of you every second you breathe. It is. And deep down beneath the lies, beneath the fears, you know it. You know what needs to be done. You know what you've been avoiding. You know the version of you who shows up when there are no cameras, no likes, no affirmations. That version, that disciplined, hungry, undeniable version, is your true self. And every day you don't feed it, you feed the imposter. You feed the voice that says, be realistic. You feed the echo that says, play it safe. But giants were never built in safety. They were built in storms. So, if life is storming around you right now, good. You're in the forge. The gods of greatness do not hand out crowns, they hand out tests. And the question is not, will it be hard? The question is, will I be harder? Because nothing, I mean nothing, can stop the human spirit. Once it has decided, it is unbreakable. That's not poetry, that's physics. A mind made up is a force of nature. It rewrites odds. It bends time. It commands destiny. And that, right there, is your gift. That is your inheritance. Not money, not status, but the power to choose. To choose discipline over distraction. To choose purpose over pleasure. To choose legacy over laziness. And in that choice repeated again and again, you don't just change your life. You change the lives of everyone who ever sees you walk. Because discipline doesn't whisper. It echoes. Through generations. Through legacies. Through the footprints you leave behind that say, I was here. I stood for something. I chose the mountain over the meadow. I chose fire over fear. I chose to command my destiny. And now, so do you. So do it. Not for the crowd. Not for revenge. Not even for the trophy. Do it because it's who you are now. The kind of person who doesn't flinch when life screams. The kind of person who wakes up and attacks the day like it owes you something because it does. It owes you the space to rise, the breath to build, the storm to sharpen your steel. It owes you the opportunity to become exactly what you were always meant to be. And that becoming, it is not for the faint of heart. You will outgrow people. You will be misunderstood. You will lose friends who were only comfortable with the weaker version of you. You will be called obsessed, extreme, too much. You will walk alone often. But that's the price of leadership. You cannot lead if you need to be liked. You cannot command your future if you are still begging for permission to be great. So burn the rule book. Rip out the page where you were told to wait your turn. Throw away the script where you play the side character in someone else's story. Write your own, in bold, in sweat, in truth, because the world doesn't need more people playing it safe. The world needs warriors of purpose, architects of change, disciples of discipline, people like you. People who know that legacy isn't built in public, it's carved in private, in the 5 a.m. wake-ups, in the silent reps at the gym, in the ignored temptation, in the nights where you stare your doubts in the face and say, you don't get to win. Because every time you choose discipline, you choose power. Every time you choose action over apathy, you choose greatness. And every time you choose to control your mind, not just for a day, but as a way of life, you choose to command your destiny. This is not motivation. This is transformation. You don't need another speech. You don't need another book. You don't need a sign. You are the sign. You are the one who gets to say, it ends here. The fear, the waiting, the wasting. I will not go quietly. I will not be forgotten. I will not live one more day beneath my power. You rise. You roar. You reclaim the throne of your own mind. And you lead not because it's easy, but because it is your duty. Because someone out there is watching you, a child, a stranger, your younger self, someone who needs proof that impossible is a lie, someone who needs to see that it can be done, that a mind once mastered becomes unstoppable. So you master it. You control it. You sharpen it until it cuts through doubt like glass. Because once you do that, once you become the weapon forged in fire, the king of your own thoughts, the general of your own soul, then, and only then, can you stand at the edge of all that you were and all that you will become, and speak the words that echo through the ages. I built this, I bled for this, I broke and rebuilt for this, and no one can take it from me. Control your mind. Command your destiny. And never, never look back.